Hello there, a very good morning to you. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Niger Live Television, broadcasting here from Yenagoa. My name is Henry Ahamuefula. Let's quickly check out some papers and stories making the news this Tuesday morning. And we'll start off with the Daily Trust paper, which has as lead story this Tuesday morning, Iran, a protest in Lagos, Sokoto, Gombe, and others. This is a fallout of the Iran-US-Israeli war, and following that there are protests in Lagos and in Sokoto and Gombe State and other states in Nigeria. One would ask exactly why we're having these protests, right? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Beneath the masthead of the Daily Trust paper is another story around this Middle East crisis, and that's on petrol price. The paper says petrol price may hit 1,000 naira as Middle East crisis escalates. Just recently also we're seeing reports of the Dangote refinery saying they are adding something to the cost price of petrol, at the refinery, some 101 naira, if that's correct. Well, protests in Nasarawa over poor power supply, a number of protests. There's also alleged wiretapping, a story found on the Daily Trust, alleged wiretapping, family defense, El Rufai, and he's been going on and on with the DSS, the EFCC. Another story on the Daily Trust paper this morning is on Umrah suffering setbacks as airlines are suspended, and the flight. Airlines are suspending flights to Saudi Arabia is also that story you get there on the Daily Trust paper. Vigilante, wife, 12 others abducted in Kaduna, and police council confirms Disu as IGP is also a story that's found on the Daily Trust paper this Tuesday morning. The police council confirming Disu as IGP is coming at a very, very critical moment, one would say, in our history as a country, especially when there is global tension. In Nigeria we're having challenges of insecurity, and globally there is the Middle East conflict. All right, hopefully that the police boss also takes the bull by the horn and delivers on his mandate. All right, let's check out the Daily Sun paper real quick. Beside the nameplate, all right, there is a story around sit at home. Soludo reopens Nkwo Newi and Shorts Newi, Shorts Ihiala market, all right. There are photos online, if you've been, of Soludo, the government demolishing buildings, market buildings belonging to traders. These are stories we see online and photos also online. But page 29 of the Daily Sun paper this morning is reporting this sit-at-home story of Soludo reopening Nkwo Newi and shorting Ihiala market. All right, another story on the Daily Trust that's also of interest is that of Reps Committee clash over probe of Renewable Energy Agency. And just so I take the lead story as well, aftermath of US-Iran-Israel war makes it. It's pretty bold on the Daily Sun paper. Crude oil price hits roof. That's how they put theirs. Crude oil price hits roof. It says on its riders, it nears $80 per barrel as experts warn against premature celebration, insist on fiscal discipline. You get the story on page 2 of the Daily Sun paper this morning, should you get a copy of it. On page 4 of the Daily Sun paper, 1 person is dead and 12 are rescued from a sunk Nigerian tugboat in South Africa, and a search for 5 missing persons that's continuing. Hoodlums invade Imo community, set up ablaze oil firms equipment is another story you get on page 29 of the paper. National Police Council ratifies Disu's appointment as acting IG. Already I took that story from the Daily Trust. Also on the Daily Sun paper, on page 29 also, PDP is not holding congresses, says Turaki. He's clarifying, there's been this story that the PDP is holding congresses. Yesterday also there was the news in Bayelsa State, PDP is holding state congresses. Well, this is Turaki. Some would say a factional PDP chairman. Well, clearly there are 2 leaderships of the PDP now. Turaki is clarifying that there are no PDP congresses ongoing. Well, let's check out the leadership paper this morning real quick also. we've checked out the Daily Sun, checked out the Daily Trust, let's check out the leadership paper. And well, on the leadership paper, they also are leading with the US-Israel war with Iran. And the story they're reporting is around domestic petrol prices rising as crude oil surges. This is pretty much what the papers are reporting this morning. Seems as though every other paper has this story to report. And beneath the nameplate of the leadership paper, also you have that story around decades of disputes, and in Nigeria's OPL 245. Well, just to read it the way the paper puts it, after decades of disputes, Nigeria splits OPL 245 for initial production push. Right, the story you get on the page 6 or 7, right, of the leadership paper, just so you know. All right. The story around El-Rufai's family also makes it to the paper this morning. El-Rufai's family accuses ICPC of forgery and political harassment. It's also a story you get on the leadership paper. Botswana president appoints Omoro Biowo to Power Corporation Board. You may also find the story on page 24 of the leadership paper this morning. Page 6 also has an interesting story. It says Shiite members protest in Lagos over Khamenei's killing. Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader, was the supreme leader of Iran, and sadly he passed on. He was killed, rather, in an airstrike by US and Israel amid the crisis that's rocking the Middle East, the war that's ongoing between the US, Israel, and Iran. All right. And real quick, we'll check out the Punch paper this morning. And the lead story from the Punch paper is also on the Israel-Iran tensions, with US Latin citizens in Nigeria as Shiite protest rocks Lagos. Again, I'm wondering, one would wonder really, because what exactly is the reason we're having these protests? What connections do we have with Iran? What connections do citizens have with Iran? Maybe it's those of us who are in the south who doing such wonder. Well, the paper is putting it clearly. The US is alerting the citizens in Nigeria and following these Shiite protests, that's rocking not just Lagos, by the way. Other papers are reporting other cities and states where there's protests, rocking. Well, away from that, by the way, that has riders like police heightening security after Kaduna, Bauchi, Gombe, Yobe demonstrations, and protesters condemn strikes, vow peaceful rally amid global tensions. And there is also the report on crises grounding 100 of Nigerian passengers, that people who were looking to catch flights to their destination. On the Punch paper, there are also photos, right, of the devastation that this Middle East crisis has caused. And the photos are there on the Punch paper this morning. The Punch is also reporting on Atiku's sworn resignation from Finteri's cabinet, all right? Atiku's sworn resignation from Finteri's cabinet also makes it to the Punch paper this morning. And US-based Nigerian jailed 19 years over $4 million romance scam and fraud. The Punch is also reporting on petrol. It says petrol may hit 1,000 naira per litre as Dangote hikes price. I mentioned that earlier. Dangote hiking price by 100 naira or so, right? They're saying it's likely that we'll see petrol being sold for 1,000 naira per litre. Are we back to those particular days where we're seeing a lot of hike? We're seeing petrol selling for over 1,000 naira. Is this the consequence we would have to bear? Is this the brunt we'd have to bear? They say when war is going in a particular part of the world, definitely you see consequences in other parts of the world. And maybe this is part of the consequence that the world would have to bear. Middle East crisis, and in Nigeria there is that problem of fuel that we may soon experience. I take the Guardian paper real quick, and it's reports on tropical disease prevention. Tropical disease prevention. It says there is drugs shortage, funding cuts, and that puts 100 million Nigerians and at risk, and also NTD gains at such risk. Well, away from that, also there is the Middle East story. All right, I'll skip that to take other stories around. Nigeria's net reserves rise by 722% in 2 years to $34.8 billion. Some good news for Nigerians, right? Chaos lingers as cashless toll enforcement leaves airport road users stranded. Is a story you get on page 5 of the Guardian paper this morning. And also, Fintiri formally joining APC, declaring self-party leader, is also another story you get on the Guardian paper this morning. A number of governors have already defected to the APC. Will this make it 32 or 31, the number of governors that have defected from the political parties to the APC? But yeah, Fintiri makes it the latest of governors who are joining the All Progressives Congress, right? A group condemns a rising wave of suicide-themed skits by Nigerian content creators. This is a fallout of the Very Dark Man and the King Michi saga, wherein both had to do skits around hypo drinking. I don't know if we could call that of King Michi a skit, certainly, albeit I'm aware that the management also came out to clarify that King Michi is hale and hearty. Well, there's that skit. A number of Nigerians, it's like a trend around Nigeria now, a number of Nigerians, content creators doing skits around drinking that very dangerous substance, a very harmful substance. We should add that. The Guardian paper is reporting on that this very morning. Just to take the paper again, the headline again, a group condemns rising wave of suicide-themed skits by Nigerian content creators. This really does not augur well for Nigeria. It's not good for Nigeria because, many would say kids are watching, and who knows what they are learning, with all of these kids. Let's check out the blueprint paper, right? Beneath the masthead, there is a story on Dangote targeting steel power ports in new push. That's a story of business news. There's also the story on police IG being confirmed, right? Insurgents attacking South Sudan village and killing 169. That's outside of our shows. Also, there's a story that makes it to the blueprint paper this morning. They are reporting on the Iran-US-Israel war, right? Qatar Energy, Saudi Aramco shut down. Gas price jumps 50%, crude 10%. Qatar downs 2 Iranian fighter planes as crisis spreads. These are riders of the very headline I just took. And Trump mourns fallen U.S. service fellows, says it's expected more will go. Around 6 servicemen of the United States, we understand, have gone down on this very crisis and war that's rocking the Middle East, right? 6 servicemen of the U.S. Numbers for Iran are in hundreds. Numbers for Israel are in over 20. In Israel, in Iran, same thing. And Iran is already, as they say, attacking neighboring countries where there are U.S. bases. And at the 4th day of the war, it doesn't seem to be calming or cooling down, right? That's what the blueprint paper is reporting this morning. And also, they are reporting a story from Cardoso, Yemi Cardoso, the CBN governor, who says, gives a revelation into how Nigeria's foreign reserves grew by 772%. You want to find out how that is, right? Check out the blueprint paper this morning. Brent nears $79 per barrel as usual. Iran tensions continue. These are stories you get on the blueprint paper this Tuesday morning. I'll take the Nigerian Tribune real quick, all right? The Nigerian Tribune paper, the lead story is on Nigerian importers who are to pay more as Middle East crisis affects shipping. That's the lead story of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. I go above the nameplate and it's reporting a court stopping Ondo APC State Congress over disputed ward and local government congresses, right? That's the story of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And it also has a story on page 14 that around 6 Ocean reps defecting to a court party. And on page 6, it says CBN governor put Nigeria's net reserves at $34.8 billion. Pretty much the same story from the other paper. And the story on the National Police Council approving this year's appointment as IGP is also there. And Dangote targeting steel, power, ports, and new industry push also makes it to the very paper this morning. I check out the story. I check out the paper rather. The Matrix paper. This is the Matrix Sports, by the way. Check out a few stories of the Matrix Sport. And the first bold story there is around Lookman. It says Lookman Atletico poised for intense second leg Copa del Rey tie against Barca. EPL, flimsy excuse, Onazi slams Man United for not signing Osimhen because of AFCON. Well, beside the Matrix Sport nameplate is a story on MPFL. Ahmed Musa debunks Europe return rumors. All right, that's a story you get on the Matrix Sport this morning. Romero consoles Akko Adams following costly miss. Those are stories you get of the Matrix Sport this morning. Thank you so much for staying with us all through the paper's review. My name is Henry Ahamuefula. The news comes up shortly. Good morning to you.
One of the problems we have in Nigeria is that it's difficult to have solid metals for creative engineering. So what you basically have in this country are tubes for building of houses and erection of structures and all that. But when you come to real metals that you can carve to engine block, metal that you can carve to a shaft or gear, there is nowhere to get in this country. So a country that does not have a shop for metals to cut can never develop. If we had shops where you can go and buy all kinds of grades of metals, it would be easier for the young to get the metals and come to a place like us, and then we will carve it for them, cut, bend, and then do all that. This country will develop. But we don't have. We have to look at China or any of those countries to bring those things to us. So that is the story of Nigeria. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is that it's difficult to have solid metals for creative engineering. So what you basically have in this country are tubes for building of houses and erection of structures and all.